welcome to new Synth Anatomy video from the TSR 19 event at Thomann. I'm here with Jackson from Modal Electronics. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Fine.
Yeah.
A lot of work and a lot of fun with a lot of guys. And for you?
It's been interesting. There's a lot of interaction, just constantly, which is both really tiring but really nice for building relationships. I was having a conversation with some guys earlier about how this would never have happened naturally, without the event as a catalyst. It would have been years in construction getting these people to actually network to this level, in this intensity, to actually interact with each other and sort of make relationships, even if that's just with the manufacturers or with synth companies, with the YouTubers as well.
It's also funny, we are here in a room where different other synth YouTubers are. On the left side we have Modal Music, Robin, and right we have Sencho making a video, and Synth Mania, and so there are tons of people here interacting together. Modal Electronics changed quite the idea of their company, because they have always this big fat synthesizers, this digital one, this analog one. So you switch now to these smaller ones, to this portal. So you reach a new group of customers, yeah?
Yeah, I mean, before this came about, there was a precursor to the craft line. There was the rhythm and the craft. These were like DIY objects, and obviously there's some really big limitations when you have something that is that low in cost, intentionally that low in cost. There's some really big limitations that you kind of experience. So I think this, specifically this, rather than looking at sculpt or something, is addressing what the feedback we got from the end user was, how we could make this more usable, and how we could make this more just feature-packed, future-proof, whatever you want to call it. So a lot of people who were complaining that USB MIDI only was the thing.
It was one of the ones, but the look completely changed. It was DIY, it was blue, and it was a bit more harder to play, I think.
It's quick because it's quite tight. The real estate on that thing is quite small.
And there's internally changed a lot in the electronics, or it's completely new design, or
it's actually a bit of both. There are remainders from the original, but then there are also some really big updates and some just ridiculous new features as well. So we still have a really similar filter. It's still a 2-pole state variable, so you can have all of your morphing from low up to high and band in the middle. That remains, and there's some features like the spread that originated with the craft line, which remains in this, and a lot of the kind of modulation possibilities. But we've expanded on things like the envelopes, because if you remember, the original craft had envelope presets. It was more like you can kind of choose what kind of sound you're going for. Whereas this, we just have proper ADSR.
But let's say all the customers of CRAFTsynth 1, would be an update possible, or is it so hard to limit it internally?
It's to be brutal. It wouldn't be possible, because the firmware that is on here it's so vastly different, and the user interface, there's no way that they could match up, really, I don't think. So this isn't like an update in that sense. It's more of a
upgrade,
successor,
more
exactly.
But the sound is still there. It's still this CRAFTsynth 1 sound, which is more brutal. It was more aggressive tune.
It was, but with that, I think I'm right in saying it was just FM, that you only had the option to do FM, whereas this, we've kind of added 16 modifiers for the oscillators, similar to FM. So you have like the 80s kind of pseudo FM, which is phase modulation. We have ring modulation, and then we have some really interesting stuff, like a windowed sync, just to kind of smooth out what actually happens with sync. It's some quite complex stuff, but there's some wave shaping, like wave folders, and some, I think there's 3 different types of sync in there, and the last one's like a vocal sync, and it's kind of got this formant aspect to it. But again, with the waves themselves, this is kind of different to the original craft
So you
as
leave,
well.
so you leave a bit more this subtractive idea.
Yeah.
So it's more complex.
Exactly.
So
I mean, it's still subtractive synth. It's funny when we talk about these things, about how many oscillators are packed into this or sculpt, and people go, "Oh, so it's an additive synth," and it's like, no, it's about how, it's about how the relationship.
Is there a new team inside this CRAFTsynth too, or is it still the same team of your older synths, or how we can
There's
give an idea of this?
There's a mixture. There's guys who've been there since day dot, and there are new team members. Even myself, I'm a relatively new team member, so it's a mixture of everybody. But I think Craft had a kind of like birth there, and then I think the team members have all kind of had their input to move it on to what it is now.
Okay.
So it's an interesting one. That's an interesting question.
So let's dive in maybe in the new CRAFTsynth. Oscillator side, it has, as you said, more options now, or it's wavetable now. And
It's wavetables. So we have banks. We've got 8 banks of wavetables. Or I think it's possibly 9 if you include like the noise bank. But yeah, on either side you have access to some wave shapes from the 002. So there's 2 banks of wavetables from the 002, and then there's some new modal designed wavetables.
Oh, okay.
There are some new types of, I don't know how new, but there are some kind of more interesting types of synthesis. I think it's polygonal synthesis, which is very hard thing to describe, but it's
designing our wavetables would be possible directly or in the future maybe.
Something we've thought about and we've had quite a lot of discussion about. I don't know if we're at a point where we've made a decision, but at the point of this coming out, it's not going to be on the product. Whether it's something that we, I think the viewpoint is that with the GUI and the UI itself, it's something that's quite hard to implement in a way that would actually work well for the user. But it's something that we definitely are like interested in.
Yeah. So you still rely on the editor, so it makes it more visible to. But it's more visible now in the new
for sure.
interface.
Exactly. This is like way more approachable than. The kind of necessity for the editor with the old Craft line was quite high.
And it's battery powered, as you said?
Yeah, this one's 3 AA's, but it's also power over USB if you prefer.
Okay.
So yeah, either.
So let's look at the sound, maybe more at the oscillators, what we can do.
Okay. Let me just pull this up. One sec down here. So I'm just going to go within an init patch, and we can just look through what the oscillators sound like. So I'm going to start with the first bank and just give you some sweeps. So you've got sort of normal virtual analog wave shapes. If we move to the next bank, I think this, I can't remember the order off the top of my head, I think this is the 002 bank. So these kind of get more interesting as you come out from sort of VA
You have this
stuff.
a bit of this scrolling.
Yeah, we got. I mean, it's really quick and easy to get some aggressive growling just using the wavetables rather than using something like the oscillator modifiers or like using the distortion or something. You can use all those things as well, but because of how the wavetables work, because they're sort of continuously scannable and the sort of relationships between all of those positions, you get really quick and easy access to like morphing waveforms, which can end up being quite growly, or some of them are quite soft as well, you know.
And then changing the different parameters happens with shift, or how we can.
So this is a production prototype. At the moment, the overlays that are on here don't necessarily completely match up. The majoritively do, but there's a few things that we've added to the firmware, which means that we're basically adding a few more features. So we have a shift button here, but we've also, as it will ship, you'll have another shift button with the preset button. So both of those end touchpad keys are going to be shift functions.
We have here Cuckoo. Hey, how are you?
Oh, good. How are you guys?
Fine.
Good. How's it going?
How would you find it?
This one.
Yeah.
I haven't. Yeah, I've tried it for like 10 minutes. I didn't figure out everything, but yeah, I think it's a nice, nice entry or entry level. It's so portable.
Yeah. It's far more portable and playable than the previous one.
Predecessor, yeah.
Yeah,
for sure.
yeah.
It's like, you know, half the sort of real estate for your fingers as well. You know? So, yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how people, you know, when people have a bit more time with it, how they react to this. And I think it's going to be interesting with the existing CRAFTsynth owners, how they react to it as well.
Yeah.
Because, you know, it could rock the boat a little bit.
Okay.
So tiny.
Yeah.
Like when you can lift something with 2 fingers, you
Yeah.
know it's portable.
Yeah.
And then it's like index finger. This is like the limit. The ring finger. Yeah, that's very portable.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Let's go further with the oscillators a bit.
Come on to another bank. So
That people get maybe an idea what's possible from wavetable to shaping and.
okay. I mean, would you like me to keep on going through the banks, or would you like me to go for a preset or something?
Yeah, that could be also, I think, a good idea to.
I have by the side of me my SysX librarian. We're still in the middle of patching this thing now, so I'm
So it's deep in product and deep in development still.
we're actually kind of, this is kind of the last stage for us. I think we have pretty much locked everything in that we want, and it's at a stable point. So the last bit is really voicing it, deciding how it's going to sound out the box.
Okay.
So when we get back from Germany, that's going to be the first bit cool. Get this finished, and we can kind of breathe a little bit and look forwards. So it's a good time. It's a really good time. So I'm going to start with something kind of soft, because I think most people will probably expect with wavetables and oscillator modifiers this is going to be aggro all the time, and it's not necessarily. It doesn't have to be. You know. Obviously, we can go aggressive, and I've got quite a lot of modulation set up to.
But you
perform
assigned aftertouch to it, velocity, so it is possible also on the keyboard.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, this is where it really shines. This is really, really nicely playable just from the keypad, but like obviously we can't do velocity. We don't have space to do a module or you know, pitch bend and things like this, and you know, you lose out on some of those performance features. But like, we're very, very conscious of that when it comes to voicing it, when it comes to patching. That I have something that is equally as playable here. You know. It's just about making it so that it works on both, and so that you have kind of
And it's
you don't have a huge difference as well, you know.
And it's excellent to have really MIDI inputs.
Yeah, MIDI in and out, and we can also do soft throughs through the 5-pin DIN or through the USB. So it's kind of massively upgraded in that department.
The filter, because it's always a part of the sound, it's somewhere something you already used in older products, or it's a new design?
Well, it's an update on the original CRAFTsynth filter. It was updated to be used in Sculpt, and is similar in here. So I think it's one of the things we had as the main bits of feedback for Sculpt is how lovely the filter was, and how nice the kind of like harmonic sort of resonant frequencies as you come down the spectrum are. It's one of those things you can have a really, really nice sweep, and you just kind of have these really rich points in the filter with, like, you know, harmonic overtones just coming in. Yeah, it's a really nice filter from my point of view.
So let's play with it.
I've got an aggressive patch, but.
It's really not that classic virtual analog sound people know. It has a really dirty, aggressive, would say it's for horror movies. Right? So
This is a funny one because we're relying on a few things to get these kind of dirty sounds. But if we brought it back to let's just say like reinitialize it and have the VA wave shapes, you're going to have a really soft sound instead. You know? You're absolutely right, but it just means it's like the versatility of it. It's just how you instantly pick that up. You hear some FM, you hear some distortion, and you think like this is for horror films.
Yeah.
But it's not. It's for
for everything. It's a fucking sound. Let's say it.
Yeah, that's it.
So they have different filter types inside, or it's only one single?
It's one, but it's morphable. So this, I'm going to just pull up something different because of how aggressive this patch is, you know. So you have your normal kind of low pass filters, but you can morph it to being a bandpass, and you can morph it into being a high pass. Obviously, you have access to all of the points in between that, but just for ease of use, I'll just show you those three because it makes more sense. So if I pull it back to being a low pass, and we can kind of get something. We were talking about this kind of richness that you can get from it. With something with a little bit more
Test this.
content, if you had like a chord on that, you have a lot more of those steps in between because there's more content for it to sweep through, but
and
you get an idea.
There's a filter envelope on it.
There's 3 envelopes, and they're dedicated, but they're not limited to that. So we have a filter envelope, an envelope, and a mod envelope. We have a one-to-one matrix that you can use with these things, but you can use parts of the envelopes as destinations as well. If that makes sense.
So you have one. You can see it on the interface. You have tags for filter envelope, envelope, and mod envelope.
Yep.
How is it when I change on the filter envelope with the parameters? Does it goes further with the knobs, or but does it goes back, or there it? Because often it's if you turn a knob and then it's not on the level of the same parameter.
Yeah, for sure. They're all actually on the same knobs here, so we swap between them by cycling in this section.
Okay.
But is this answering your question? Is that what you mean?
Yeah. It's endless encoders.
So they're endless encoders. Yeah, it'll pick up from the point that it's actually set. It's not that you're going to turn it and it's going to jump somewhere.
Yeah.
I've had a few synths where you have that, and it's, you know, when you're trying to figure out how something is made, if you hear something you really like, and then you know.
Because I know from the Uno synth from Micro Multimedia, he has it was you turn a knob and then it was not on the same level. It was the knob was somewhere. But you need to change it internally in the settings. Yeah,
for sure. It is interesting because of the way the sequencer works on that. And it's got this kind of really, like with step sequences like that, where you can have per step values. It's an interesting concept.
And how quick are the envelopes? Are they more quick or more what you choose here?
They can be really snappy, and they're bipolar. So you can use, if you turn it bipolar, you can use the attack to kind of make key click noises and stuff. If you wanted to do like, for me, it was doing like kind of organ sounds and things like this. I usually put the envelopes bipolar and kind of use the attack as a click, and then use the decay very, very short as a really soft ramp.
Okay.
So you get this kind of thing. It's hard to maybe wrap your head around without hearing, but they're snappy, they're good. So if I go for the amp envelope, we can see a bit more. Am I in the right place? Yeah. There we go. So yeah, you can get like some really nice clicky kind of snappy bits, but it's also quite like nice when you have both.
It has a bit this. I remember now, it has a bit of this sound of Waldorf synths, a bit of this coldness.
It's. I mean, this is down to the wavetables. That's kind of like something Waldorf do incredibly well. So yeah, wavetable synthesis definitely has like a tell. I think. Yeah. You know, it's kind of anywhere in between like these form and T kind of things that are like more hollow. yeah, through its sound.
What is now to know? You have two LFOs.
Two LFOs, which will go audio rate as well, so you can do your regular sort of rate sweep, and then after your regular rate sweep, much like with the spread where it snaps into doing intervals on the other half, with the LFO it will snap into doing audio rate modulation. So it's basically mathematically related to the pitch of the key that you're pressing, if that makes sense. So it means that at slow values you're just going to get a it's just going to sound like a normal LFO, but the lower I play, the slower the LFO, the higher I play, the faster the LFO. And when you come up really, really high rates, you start to bring in like harmonic overtones. Because of how fast it's happening and because it's mathematically related to the pitch, it actually is producing content which is relatable, and it doesn't sound weird like off ratio FM or something like that. It doesn't sound like this. It's just quite aggressive. I think we should probably show you something like this.
And as you said, it's on a CRT, it has an ARP and a sequencer, or is it a combination of it?
Combination, so it's a programmable ARP sequencer, which is kind of like, it's kind of fun because you can either go down the road of I'm going to press one key and have something that I know is going to happen, or you can program something a little bit more simply, maybe using octaves and fifths, and use like chords with it, and it gets quite interesting. You can tie rests in and stuff like that, so it's nice, quite versatile.
Okay, so the best thing is let's hear one of you, because you are one of the sound designers of Modal Electronics.
Yeah.
So let's hear your results.
Let's go for something that's like kind of a bit of a departure, something like chords, pads. So you can get like nice chord sounds out of it relatively easily using the detune of the waves and the spread. Both of those together, it means that you can get like more complex voicings than is available just on the spread. So yeah, you can make this thing sound quite jazzy. And for like a mono synth, that is kind of not supposed to happen, I don't think. So I'm really happy that this kind of is this capable, because for me, I'm definitely more of an advocate of polysynths, but it's just because of what I've bought since I've been making music. I've always kind of lent that way. Just through imagining it's more versatile, but actually experiencing some really, really powerful monosynths more recently. There's some really, really good stuff that's coming out, and like this has really, really impressed me.
And you expect it when to come to? So that Kickstart will be delivered.
At the moment, the date is for the 30th of April. I think. So it will probably be arriving on people's doorsteps at the start of May.
And the price is?
So it will be €149.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
That's a lot of synthesis technology inside.
Yeah, I hope that's not too daunting. I mean, I think this is the kind of the kicker, is that you have something that's like quite cheap, and I'm just, in my view, like the design of the product kind of makes it really, really usable. Like you don't realize how much stuff is in there because it's so easy to use.
Oh yeah, okay.
But yeah, it's quite feature packed for the price point.
Okay. Thank you, Jackson.
Thanks very much for having me.
I wish you a good show or a good event.
Yeah.
And looking forward for the CRAFTsynth version 2 and all the future products from the new team or of Modal Electronics.
Thank you very much. Cheers, Tom.
And don't forget to subscribe and leave a comment below if you have a question about the CRAFTsynth 2. Thank you and see you in the next videos from the TSR 19 here from Toman.